All right, let's just dive right into a mystery that I know we've literally all experienced. Every single day, millions of us sit down with the best intentions, right? Maybe you're a student opening a massive textbook, or you're starting a huge project for work. You sit down, the goal is crystal clear. Just stay focused. But give it 5 minutes and your mind is completely drifting. A notification pings, some random thought pops in your head, and suddenly you are entirely off track.
So why does our attention just vanish like that? It is so easy to point the finger at technology or just assume, we're all getting kind of lazy. But what if I told you there's actually a deeply fascinating biological reason behind this? Today, in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly what's happening inside your head and, much more importantly, how you can take your attention back.
Let's start with Section 1, the myth of laziness, evolution and the distracted brain. Look, first off, let me just reassure you. Your brain, it's not broken. And you're definitely not just being lazy. It's actually doing exactly what 200,000 years of evolution designed it to do. Think about it. Over thousands of generations, our ancestors survived in a genuinely dangerous world. Noticing every sudden movement in the grass or a weird sound in the forest, that meant the difference between finding your dinner and, well, becoming a predator's dinner. So evolution hardwired us to obsessively seek out anything new and unexpected. The problem is, our modern environment has changed entirely, but our biological hardware? It hasn't. Your ancient survival system literally treats a smartphone ping with the same urgency as a rustling bush that might be hiding a tiger. It thinks that notification is something you urgently need to investigate.
And this is where dopamine comes in, though probably not how you think. People always call it the pleasure chemical, but actually, it's the chemical of motivation, curiosity, and expectation. Every time your phone buzzes, your brain predicts a potential reward. Scrolling social media gives you these endless tiny hits of dopamine because of the constant novelty. But studying? That reward is delayed until you pass a test months from now. Simply put, your brain naturally craves the immediate dopamine hit of a quick video way more than the delayed reward of hard work.
Moving on to Section 2, Cognitive Overload, the Limits of the Human Mind.
Here's the thing. We are constantly bombarding a mental system that has surprisingly strict limits. Our working memory, which is basically the mental workspace where we temporarily hold info while learning, can only juggle so much at once. Imagine trying to carry, 10 heavy bags of groceries in one trip. Eventually, your arms just give out and everything drops. Well, your working memory is exactly like that. When you pile on reading a textbook, checking your phone, filtering out background noise, and worrying about life, your working memory overloads. It hits its absolute ceiling, and your concentration collapses. It is not a lack of intelligence, it's literally just too much information competing for a tiny amount of space.
Which naturally begs the question, can you actually multitask? You might feel like a total productivity ninja juggling all these things, but science consistently proves otherwise. The human brain simply cannot focus on multiple complex tasks at the same time. Zero chance. It just can't do it.
Instead of multitasking, what your brain is actually doing is frantically switching back and forth between tasks. And the hidden trap here is something called the switching cost. Every single time you shift your focus to glance at your phone, even just for 2 seconds, it burns mental energy. It actually takes several minutes of lost time and momentum before your brain can fully re-engage with your original work.
All right, let's hit Section 3, the stress blockade. How anxiety shuts down learning.
Ever notice how nearly impossible it feels to study when you're super stressed out? There's a biological reason for that too. When you're anxious about a deadline, money, or a massive exam, your brain senses danger and floods your system with cortisol. Your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, planning, and focus center of the brain, basically powers down. Meanwhile, your emotional survival regions completely take over. Your brain is literally prioritizing keeping you alive over learning new facts. This perfectly explains why incredibly smart people suddenly go blank during stressful exams. Your brain is prepping to fight a threat, not memorize a math formula.
That brings us to Section 4, the Memory Builder, why sleep is active, not passive.
Okay, so to fix this stressed out, overloaded system, we have to talk about a biological absolute that so many of us skip. We treat sleep like turning off a computer, but sleep is actually an incredibly active process. While you're sleeping, your brain acts like a highly efficient nighttime janitor crew. It is working overtime to actively strengthen the important things you learned, delete the useless junk, repair neural connections, and literally clear out metabolic waste. Science shows us that missing even one single night of good sleep completely shatters your attention span and slows your brain down. If you want to focus, sleep is just non-negotiable. Which leads perfectly into Section 5, Rewiring Focus, taking back control of your attention.
So knowing all this stuff about evolution, dopamine, stress, and sleep, how do we actually fix our focus? The secret is neuroplasticity. Focus isn't some magical talent you're either born with or you aren't. Because of neuroplasticity, your attention acts exactly like a muscle. When you go to the gym, your muscles adapt and get stronger, right? Well, when you deliberately practice holding your attention, the neural pathways in your brain physically rewire and strengthen.
So, let's make this super practical. If you want a daily routine to build that focus muscle, here is your science-backed playbook. First, you have to physically remove digital distractions. Put the phone in another room to break that dopamine loop. Next, study in tight, focused blocks, followed immediately by short breaks so you don't overload your working memory. Try adding a little mindfulness meditation. It actually trains your brain to notice when it's wandering so you can pull it back. And finally, ruthlessly protect your sleep and get some exercise. By doing this every day, you are literally using neuroplasticity to physically reshape your brain.
The biggest takeaway from this whole explainer is really just this. When we stop fighting our ancient biology and start designing our environment to actually support focus, concentration stops feeling like this impossible uphill battle.
Because let's face it, we live in an era of infinite information and infinite distraction. Ultimately, your success isn't just about raw intelligence. It is heavily determined by your ability to direct your attention. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. If focus is a muscle and your attention dictates your entire future, what is the one small change you're going to make today to start building your superpower?